Hello YouTube. Pluto is a dwarf planet in the Kuiper belt, a ring of bodies beyond the orbit of Neptune. It was the first and the largest Kuiper belt object to be discovered. After Pluto was discovered in 1930, it was declared to be the ninth planet from the Sun. Beginning in the 1990s, its status as a planet was questioned, following the discovery of several objects of similar size in the Kuiper belt, including the dwarf planet Eris. This led the International Astronomical Unit in 2006 to formally define the term planet, excluding Pluto, and reclassifying it as a dwarf planet. Pluto is the most incredible planet in our solar system. Many already know that it has a huge icy heart. However, this is not all that there is about its features and strangeness. From Earth, it is impossible to notice it with an unarmed eye. For comparison, with the same success, you can try to see the walnut, located at a distance of 50 kilometers from you. Most planets rotate in a circular orbit. Pluto demonstrates a completely different character. It can move 7.3 billion kilometers away from the Sun, or approach it by 4.4 billion kilometers. So it is absolutely incredible. This icy dwarf planet can change its place in the system. Between 1979 and 1999, it took the place of Neptune, temporarily becoming the eighth planet in the system. The next time astronomers estimate that this will happen in 2231. This duration of the day and the duration of the day on that planet is 153 hours. Thanks to such an unusual orbit, Pluto sometimes has an atmosphere. During the maximum approach to the Sun, the ice begins to melt. However, the waters on Pluto are 3 times larger than in all of the oceans of our planet. The fact that a quarter of the surface is covered with a huge glacier, very similar to the shape of the heart. The only spacecraft that could approach Pluto was NASA's New Horizons satellite. It started in 2009 and the journey lasted for 9 years. The automatic station covered 3 billion kilometers. It is very interesting that the Sun rises on in the west and the luminary's approach takes place in the east. The orbit of the planet is so elongated that periodically it is carried into space 50 times farther than the Earth, and sometimes comes closer to the luminary of Uranus. Pluto is the 9th largest and 10th most massive known object directly orbiting the Sun. It is the largest known trans-Neptunian object by volume, but it is less massive than Eris. Like other Kuiper belt objects, Pluto is primarily made of ice and rock and is relatively small, 1/6 the mass of the Moon and 1/3 its volume. It has moderately eccentric and inclined orbit, during which it ranges from 30 to 49 astronomical units from the Sun. This means that the Pluto periodically comes closer to the Sun than Neptune, but a stable orbital resonance with Neptune prevents them from colliding. Light from the Sun takes 5.5 hours to reach Pluto at its average distance. Pluto has 5 known moons. Charon, the largest, with a diameter just over half of that of the Pluto, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra. Pluto and Charon are sometimes considered a binary system because the barycenter of their orbits does not lie within either body. The New Horizons station left the Earth on January 19, 2006 at the speed of about 58,000 kilometers an hour. In February 2007, it borrowed some orbital energy from Jupiter, accelerating to 84,000 kilometers an hour. Finally, after 5 billion kilometers and 9.5 years, on July 14, 2015, New Horizons reached Pluto. The New Horizons spacecraft performed a flyby of Pluto, becoming the first and to date the only spacecraft to do so. During its brief flyby, New Horizons made detailed measurements and observations of Pluto and its moons. In September 2016, astronomers announced that the reddish-brown cap of the North Pole of Charon is composed of organic macromolecules that may be ingredients for the emergence of life, and produced from methane, nitrogen, and other gases released from the atmosphere of Pluto and transferred 19,000 kilometers or 12,000 miles to the orbiting moon. What information was collected while it was flying nearby Pluto's tail? Let's look. What was actually collected by the spacecraft? Let's look at Pluto's tail. One of the New Horizons instruments is designed to study the solar wind around the dwarf planet. Among other things, it managed to detect an ionized tail with a length of from 77 to 110,000 kilometers. Due to the weak gravity, gas particles from Pluto's nitrogen methane atmosphere are torn out of orbit, ionized by solar radiation, and remain in the tail due to the solar wind. Another phenomena, the perfect plane. When the first photos from New Horizons arrived, scientists expected that all of Pluto would be pitted with craters, but located in the heart of Pluto, the icy plain, the satellite plateau, was almost completely smooth. Perhaps it is constantly updated due to geological activity, and the craters are simply overgrown. Now, let's look at the so-called Pluto spider. One of the sections of Pluto is covered with specific cracks, vaguely resembling the image of a huge spider. The smallest of them stretch for 100 kilometers. The largest display near furrow as much as 580 kilometers. Other faults on Pluto are parallel to each other and are most likely cracks in the ice crust. The spider can be caused by the rise of underground elements to the surface, as in similar processes on Mercury and Venus. Let's look at the migrating atmosphere of this dwarf planet. Pluto and its moon Charon have a unique relationship. Pluto, with a diameter of 2,370 kilometers, is only twice the size of Charon, 1,208 kilometers. They are separated by a relatively small distance of 20,000 kilometers, and this is enough for Charon to draw some of the nitrogen from Pluto's atmosphere. Let's look at the mysterious source of nitrogen. Pluto is unable to hold its atmosphere, which is made up of nitrogen with small amounts of methane and carbon monoxide, and it leaks hundreds of tons into the space every hour. It is not known how the dwarf planet has not yet completely lost nitrogen. Perhaps this process was slower earlier and accelerated only recently. The main supply of nitrogen on Pluto is stored in the form of ice, and from there it is replenished into the atmosphere to replace the lost one. Let's look at the heart of Pluto. The Tombaugh region is named after astronomer Clyde Tombaugh, who discovered Pluto. It is smooth, light plain with almost no craters, shaped like a heart. Astronomers assume that this is a very young region. The same plane of the satellite was formed only 100 million years ago, which by cosmic standards is not a time at all. Although devoid of craters, the Tombaugh region is covered with cracks and mountains. Let's look at the pits of Pluto. Pluto is a very cold place, at times flirting with absolute zero, while the temperature differences there are so great and fleeting that instead of melting, the ice sublimates, passing from a solid to a gas state immediately. This process leaves huge pits on the surface of Pluto, especially noticeable in the Periplanitia area and in the Tambo region. Let's look at the methane snow. A long mountain range peeks out from a dark patch of Pluto, known as the Fictional region, full of pits, craters, and rifts. Snow shines on its peaks, but not from water, but from pure methane, although the process of its formation is about the same as on Earth. Pluto's scales. The eastern part of the Tambo region, Tartarus Dorsa, is famous for its snake-skin-like landscape. Its scales stretch for miles, and the nature of them is unclear, whether methane deposits or scars from the evaporation of the ice crust. The migrating hills of Pluto. The hills on the satellite plane do not stand but are constantly migrating. The most likely there are specific icebergs sliding on the nitrogen ice of Pluto. On the dwarf planet there are also ice mountains up to 3,500 meters high and at least 100 million years old, and they continue to grow. But I think there is something else on Pluto. Ivan Yefremov was a Soviet writer and paleontologist. In addition to introducing a new paleontological field, the study of fossilization patterns, Yefremov has written a series of novels and short stories, including science fiction, historic fiction, adventure, and drama. Well, his novel Andromeda, A Space Age Tale, it was published first in 1957. Many consider Andromeda a pivotal work of science fiction produced in the USSR, if it is really just science fiction. Andromeda is a modern utopia about a society 1,000 or so years in the far future. The people of this society have made contact with extraterrestrials via a long-distance communications network known as the Great Circle. In the novel, the Great Circle pre-exists human contact. 300 or so years after the end of the present civilization, and some 700 odd years before the events of the novel, the humans on Earth contracted the Great Circle, an achievement made possible by the powerful engines, receivers, and transmitters of a planetary society. Yefremov's story has three main narrative threads. The story of the spaceship Tantra and its visit to two worlds, in particular its strange visit to the planet of the Iron Star. The story of the world weary Dar Veter and the archaeologist Vida Kang, and the story of the Van Maas and his ill-advised experiment in zero transportation. All three tales intersect, but only that one of the Tantra spends the first half of the novel far off in the deep space. Yefremov had knowledge and predicted some discoveries with uncanny precision, like discovery of diamond tubes in Siberia, and that is when the KGB, the Soviet secret police, began to investigate him, as far as I know. I will not be surprised that Yefremov knew more about Pluto than our modern scientists. I already know that Yefremov disseminated his knowledge in his books, his novels, and those who understand the message, I'm sure some of them apply this knowledge. Well, the KGB, of course, revealed him to be an extraterrestrial and acted in their own way. Whatever I could find, you can see in my videos. In the playlist Yefremov in my channel. I think this is fascinating stuff. So, Yefremov had a revelation, so to say, about Pluto. This is from his book Andromeda, Space Age Tale. We are leaving today. I have been asked to take 6 people from the planet ship Amat with us. The ship is remaining here to organize the mining of new mineral deposits on Pluto. We're taking back the expedition and the material they collected on Pluto. These 6 people, re-equipped an ordinary planet ship for the performance of a deed of great valor. They had dived into the depths of hell, down through Pluto's thick atmosphere of neon and methane. They flew through blizzards of ammonia snow, every second bringing fresh risks of collision with gigantic needles of frozen water, as hard as steel. They've managed to find a region where there are mountains. The mystery of Pluto has been solved at last. It is a planet that does not belong to our solar system, but one that was captured by the Sun during its passage through the galaxy. This accounts for Pluto's density being much greater than that of any other planet. The explorers discovered strange minerals on this alien world, but more important still, on one ridge they found an almost completely ruined structure that told of an inconceivably ancient civilization. The research data must, of course, be checked. The intelligent working of building materials has still to be proved. But still, an amazingly valorous deed has been done. That's from the book. So, all we can do is wait, and maybe we will find out more about the strange planet or the celestial body Pluto in our lifetime. But I would pay heed to what Yefremov said and what he stated. And who he really was, I don't think we will find out until all the volumes of his case are declassified in Russia. And I hope it will happen someday. Thank you for your attention to my work. If you can support it, there is description in the description to this video. There are links, and I hope to bring you more interesting stories and general information about paranormal phenomena of Eurasia and beyond. Thank you.